listen. Just listen. And I don't mean listen for what I am saying in particular. Just simply listen. Close your eyes and just listen. Listen to yourself. Become aware of the internal narrative. What are you saying to yourself? Don't do anything about it, just listen. Learn. Learn about what you are saying to yourself. Again, don't do anything about it. Just listen. What are you telling yourself? Don't judge it. Just simply observe. What are you telling yourself? It is a strange phenomenon. We should think that we were aware of our internal narrative, our self-talk. But actually the reality is that we very rarely are aware of it. And the reason for that is that when we are not aware of our internal dialogue, it is simply because we are immersed, we are merged into it. We become it. And then when we become the internal narrative, then we are caught. then we become puppets. And that is not a judgment, that is just simply an observation. I'm not saying that it is right or wrong. But what I am saying is that it is painful most of the time. And I'm also saying that it is unauthentic. It is a superficial way of living. And I'm also saying that from this identification with the internal dialogue, from that a lot of suffering and problems arises. It is actually the only way that a problem can arise. By identification with the internal dialogue. And that is why it is important just to observe it. When we start to observe the internal dialogue, something might happen. A question might arise. Who is observing? Who is observing the inner dialogue? Is it the narrative? Is it the dialogue that is observing? No, it cannot be. And it is very easily verifiable. Sometimes the dialogue stops. Sometimes the internal narrative comes to rest. And there are small gaps of stillness. In these gaps, you are still observing. You do not vanish. The authentic part of you is still there. So it is very easy verifiable that it is not the internal dialogue that is observing. That recognition should immediately tell us that identification with the internal dialogue is phony, is a false way of, is a false sense of self. an illusion, a fata morgana. And that is why from it suffering and pain arises. Listen. Listen inside. Watch the complaining. For most humans, the internal dialogue consists of an overwhelming amount of complaining or worrying. The funny thing is that when we observe the internal dialogue, we come to realize that the complaining and the worrying has to do with other aspects of the internal dialogue. It has nothing to do with reality, but it has everything to do with the internal dialogue. And it is strange, for it is actually very often a dialogue, a battle about a battle between ideas, a battle between beliefs fighting each other within. Trying to find some kind of ground to stand on, some kind of firm ground to stand on, trying to derive it from belief systems, ideas. But no belief system, no idea will ever give you a firm ground to stand on. And that is why they oftentimes are battling themselves. Ultimately, there are no substance in it. The firm ground is in the listening, in the observation. You cannot grasp that with any idea or any belief. In the listening itself, all ideas and beliefs dissolves. Rest as that. Another funny thing about the internal narrative, the internal dialogue, is that it consists of concepts, words, language. It is simply a storytelling machine. fascinating stories about me and fascinating stories about how existence ought to unfold. But concepts cannot contain reality. And that is why the very effort of trying to do so always ends with suffering. Trying to construct a belief system about who I am and what existence is, or what or who God is for that matter, and then worshipping that idea, that will always lead to suffering. Because your idea about that will differentiate from other people's ideas. And since it is just an idea, you will have to defend it. Because it is fragile. And it always will be fragile, no matter how many other people that you ally with. The ground of being is not a concept, is not an idea. All concepts, all ideas, all belief systems are obstacles. Obstacles to a direct recognition, a different kind of knowing, a direct seeing, a direct hearing, listening. Listen. Listen what is going on inside of you. Just watch it. Don't do anything. Just simply come to learn about it. Learn about the stories. Observe how you lose yourself in the stories. And when you discover that, oh, I have lost myself in the story, just gently pull back from it and watch it again. Listen again. Don't blame yourself. Just watch it again. Learn about the stories. What are the beliefs that are hidden within the stories? What are the beliefs that is constructing the straitjacket you are carrying? You are already free. Free. Freedom. You are being itself. You are the finest manifestation of the entire universe right now, experiencing itself as you. Don't fall into the trap of believing all the internal narratives, all the stories about it. I'm not saying that there is anything wrong as such with the stories. They are just simply stories. But they cannot satisfy you, and they never will be able to. Never. Listen. Listen what is going on. Come to learn about it. Listen, my friend. Not to what I am saying, to what I'm pointing at. Watch yourself. Become a master of existence. The satisfaction that you will find within that, you cannot even imagine. Keep on listening, my friend. Learn. Thank you.